How you doing, folks? It's Mark Dutram. Welcome to another episode of BayView Views. Today we're going to look at the housing market, both nationally in Florida, and then we're going to look in our own backyard, Okaloosa and Walton counties, and whether you're a buyer or seller, I think it's going to give you updated information about kind of what's happening real time. So anyway. As we look at the markets nationally, home sales continue to reflect the impact of higher mortgage rates. Remember, the Fed deliberately was trying to slow down markets, and it worked extremely well, particularly in housing. New construction continues to help fill that gap, about 800,000 units. But demand still exceeds supply in many areas, which is why you see some price stability. In other words, this is not 2008 all over again, like many people fear, where the market was artificially elevated due to the derivative markets or the decreased lending standards that we had. If we look at home prices nationally, they've remained really strong and resilient. Even with slower sales, prices for both existing and newly built homes remain above that 400,000 range. So inventory is building, but desirable homes still see strong buyer activity. We did, as a nation, significantly underbuild single-family dwellings as well as multifamily structures from 2008, the housing bubble, all the way up to the current time. And so that's really helping keep prices up. And that's what we really need more of, is more supply. As we look at the next chart, we'll see that Florida is trending toward a more balanced market, and like what we see nationally. It's around 5 months of supply means buyers have more options than they used to, while sellers who price correctly still perform quite well. If we look locally, prices remain strong in both counties. Walton has much more diversity in its mix. If you look from the north end of the county to the south end, but both remain in the low to mid 400s on that average price. For Okaloosa, this has really ranged from a low of about 396 to a high of about 438. And of course, that's thousands. Walton County has gone through a high of about 458,000 in May to a low of about 382,000 in January. So even though we've seen price decreases in both counties, they're falling from the highs that were really, quite elevated. And that would still represent good returns from a seller's perspective, but would still seem expensive for many buyers in our area. Of course, affordability for the average homeowner has become a national concern in housing. And the only way to fix that, in my opinion, is with more supply. And how could the government help with this? Is really by removing the regulatory hurdles and the costs that go along with it. So we've got to make it easier for builders to build. As we look at the next one, homes stay on the market longer than during the surge years, for sure. Around 80 days locally, giving buyers really more time to shop and to compare. This has been in the 70s pretty much all year long in Okaloosa County. This has changed from a high of 108 in January to a low of about 78 days in May for Walton County. We're still technically in a seller advantage market locally with just over 3 months of inventory, but competition varies significantly by the price band. This has been right around 3 all year for Okaloosa County. It has fallen from about 4.5 months of inventory earlier in the year to about 3 months of inventory today. Strong active listing counts show healthy movement and good choices for buyers across both counties. Okaloosa County this year has gone from a low of about 2,500 listings in January to a high of about 3,260 listings in July. For Walton County, this has gone from a low of about 2,400 in January to a high of 3,300 in July. So sellers are adjusting their pricing strategies. So we're seeing price reductions, which are much more common now, And that's helping deals to kind of stay in motion to keep opportunities alive. This chart shows that new listings at roughly 568 for Okaloosa County. This is down from 836 in March. And Walton County had a high of 812 in March and to a low today of about 554. You can see from the number of listings that have discounted their prices, which is pretty incredible. This comes after a time when you had to pay above asking price. Many of us remember that, just to be competitive. And then the house still sold in about 15 minutes. So it was a crazy time period. For Walton County, this has gone from a low of 534 in January to a high of 956 in May. And then Okaloosa County, this has gone from a low of 570 in January to a high of 1,012 in May. So as a seller, you may long for the times when you could sell a house in a day and get above your asking price. But as a buyer, you welcome any shift in equilibrium to kind of stabilize prices, which is where, kind of where we are today. And who are you today? Are you a buyer or a seller? Sometimes it's hard to say. And I found myself actually being a buyer and seller over the past couple of years. If you're a real estate investor, you're going to be okay, right? You're going to do fine. And this is an entirely new issue. And we didn't even address that today. There's so many people and so many different entities that have crowded into the space today to buy single-family dwellings. That's really kind of stripped away a lot of that supply. But all the new investors that have crowded into the space, again, end up stealing a lot of the returns. So I do think that we have to make some conscious effort to fix the affordability issues that we see for our first-time home buyers or our young families that are just starting out. Remember, if they cannot afford to obtain home ownership, they can't participate in a huge part of the American dream. And if you don't own any significant capital assets, price appreciation only leaves you further behind. We hope this recap has helped with kind of a national and a local kind of a summary of where the housing market is today. And if you're a buyer or a seller, good luck to you either way. But regardless, thank you for watching another episode of BayView Views. Have a great day.